I don't feel like it's a disorder as in how the word is usually seen. So something is wrong with with someone. That's usually what disorder means. But it is disorder as in, if you look at it as order is just what is normal, the mold. It's not that.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of fit outside of that normal mold. So in that case, if you would see it, explain disorder in that way, just not what is expected, I guess, of a person. In that case, it does kind of fit, but not in the way that usually the word disorder is meant.
Mm-hmm. But where do you fit suffering in there? I
Well,
mean,
suffering is just how much you make it.
what do you mean? I don't.
Suffering is really personal. Like, if I don't see something as suffering, like suffering is just, I'm going to explain this.
Take your time.
um, like, suffering is only there at the moment that you decide that it's something that is not what you like want or feel like. I'm not really sure how to really explain this well. um, there's like this term dukkha. I'm not sure if you've ever heard of it, like in
No.
the meditation yoga
I
world
mean,
basically.
I've
And
delved
that's
into
basic.
meditation, but not in that
Yeah.
sense, probably.
It's maybe a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah.
Dukkha is basically, you would translate it as suffering. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And basically anything could be suffering. If I really make a big deal of not being able to drink the drink that I really want to drink at that moment, that could be
Mm-hmm.
suffering. I could
Mm-hmm.
also just notice, okay, I don't have that drink right now. It's okay. I'll have that drink a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
So it really depends on how you stand in that yourself, I guess, and how much of a problem you are making out of it yourself.
Really?
I
That's.
guess it
I
is, yeah.
mean, I don't know. I feel like that's really hard for me to believe because I mean I see so many people that are like just plain out suffering from things that they can't control, that
Hmm.
it kind of, I don't know, that comes off kind of harsh to tell them,
I get that, yeah.
listen, I know you don't have any food to eat and no shelter, but it's your own happiness, you have to make it yourself. I mean, it's kind, and also similarly, I mean, I don't know, have you watched the conversation I've had with Eros, my last conversation?
I think I only watched part of that.
Okay. I mean, we talked about suffering, and I don't feel like his suffering is a matter of perspective. I mean, the
Hmm.
difficulty in creating social bonds with people and
Hmm.
in finding also romantic. I mean, for him it was not the case. He's not an incel, but I know that many people suffer from finding a romantic partner, and I feel like that's kind of a big deal if you're alone. Like loneliness, I think,
Yeah,
is
of
a
course.
really hard hard thing for people to deal with. I mean, the
I'm not saying
reason,
that something can be hard. I'm
yeah,
really not
sure.
saying that. Like with, I guess also with the whole thing of suffering, you would expect like the basic needs are kind of met before you can really, um, yeah, change your perspective on that. I guess
Mm-hmm.
yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's going to be really, really, really hard to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of makes sense. So I'm not saying that things can be hard,
Okay, so you're
but
basically
how
saying
much you suffer from something, you can kind of control that a little bit.
beyond
Like,
the necessary,
yeah,
yeah,
beyond like the
beyond
basic
like
needs
the
that
basic
need to be
needs.
met. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's where I'm getting at basically is like there is this, and we're gonna get to the terminology about
Hmm.
categorizing different types of autistic people. Uh, i- but there is people that are autistic that are not able to have this basic needs met, like
Yeah.
and I don't know, that's also some suffering that we would agree. I mean, we could disagree that it doesn't come from, we could say that it doesn't come from autism. I don't know what you think about this. Maybe it comes
It
from
depends.
society. Maybe it's
Both.
just because society is not accommodating enough for autistic
Both.
people.
Yeah. I think it's both ways. I'm not sure
Hmm.
if you've seen the video that I did on that, on the double empathy problem.
Yes, I did. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it kind of goes right in there.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think we, like as autistic people, are often expected to fit, like as I already said, in the mold of what society accepts as being normal.
Mhm.
So we are often the ones that are expected to basically mask change yourself almost to fit in that mold, and that can be really hard. So it's also society needs to kind of accommodate that. They need to acknowledge that we are a little bit different, I guess, in that way. That would already make things a lot easier. But also, we need to realize, as autistic people, that they don't see the world in the same way that we do. It kind of goes both ways, and it may sound a little bit harsh, I guess, to someone if you're really struggling. I definitely get that. That sounds really harsh, but it really does go both ways.
Mhm.
Like both parties need to understand that both parties see the world in a different way.
Mhm. W- Would you think so? So I mean, I guess if, for example, I could imagine a society that would be
Hmm.
perfectly accommodating for autistic people, where and there were no more autistic people suffering,
Hmm.
then I would be completely convinced that autism is not a disorder.
Yeah, of course.
Then I would be like, yeah, then it's just society doing
Yeah,
that. And but I'm not sure if that would be the case. What do you
I don't
think?
think so. I
You,
don't
you
think
don't think that would be
it's
the
going to be
case?
the case that that's ever going to happen. I would love it if it
No,
would
no, no, no.
happen,
I mean,
but
I don't think that I'm not sure if a society that would be built around autistic people
hmm,
would eradicate every suffering that comes from being autistic.
no, of
It
course
wouldn't,
not.
right?
No, I don't think so
Okay.
either.
So, but wouldn't that be an argument in favor of uh, categorizing certain types of autism or certain and we have to talk about that as well. How do we call that? I know that you have your opinions about that as well. So, but at least after a certain threshold, wouldn't we
Hmm.
have to call it a disorder to a certain extent to just encompass the suffering that is not societally caused directly?
Yeah, if there's no struggle, there's no disorder.
Exactly, right? Yeah,
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 that's yeah.
yeah. So
You can
let's
diagnose something that's not there.
true.
Like if there's no struggle, there's nothing to diagnose,
Mm-hmm,
and that's what the whole system is built upon. So.
mm-hmm. So let's maybe I feel like I have to dance around it around the
Hmm.
it all the time because I'm trying not to use some certain terminologies and I know that you have your opinions about it. Let's talk about the way that people characterize autistic people. There is this term
Hmm.
high functioning, low functioning, and I feel like there is a few more of similar types of categories. Let's talk about it. What is the what do you think about these categorizations? Should we just stop categorizing at all, or are these just the wrong categories? What do you think?
Yeah, I guess from like the viewpoint of like the society that we live in, it makes sense, but it's also kind of hurtful for the people that are being categorized that way, I guess.
Mm-hmm,
High functioning in this case really just means that you can function in society without that society notices that there is a problem there that you are struggling basically. So as long as you can focus on you can yeah, live your life basically. You can go to work. You can live your life without really society noticing there is something wrong. Then you are labeled high functioning.
mm-hmm,
Whereas if you need a lot of help, maybe you cannot even work at all. And that's where you would be labeled as low functioning. So I guess from society, like that viewpoint, it makes sense.
mm-hmm.
But it doesn't mean that someone that is high functioning doesn't really have the same or similar struggles that someone does that is lower functioning. It's just that they are able to mask it better.
Okay, I
So
get it. So the thing that bothers you is that it it just doesn't encapsulate the struggle that is behind this
yeah,
functioning, right?
yeah,
Because I feel like it is kind of dehumanizing to say like
yeah,
to say high functioning, low functioning, but I feel like it's not dehumanizing towards autistic people. It is like dehumanizing towards everyone, because it's like the idea of, okay, you have to function to be a, yeah,
Yeah,
like
to be a
you have,
normal
yeah,
human being. Yeah.
yeah, like this idea of but on the other hand, yeah, I get why this. I mean, I wouldn't know how to, if I would have to have a category for someone who is like autistic, maybe high masking, but
Yeah.
living overall an okay life, like being able to provide for themselves, being more or less healthy, having social relationships, having a romantic partner. If I would take this and compare it to someone that doesn't have that, I don't know. I feel like we need a category for that, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's a spectrum. Like
True.
it is autism spectrum disorder.
Mm-hmm.
That's already in the name. So you're automatically going to be somewhere on the spectrum of yeah, I guess it is higher functioning in this society
Mm-hmm.
or not functioning as well in this society. But so it kind of makes sense, but it also kind of is a little bit harsh almost to put a label like that on a person. So it's really double, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm like, yeah,
Yeah, I don't like the label, but I'm not sure what else you would call it almost,
yeah. I mean,
which is kind
I
of annoying to admit. But
I'm also really not a big fan of calling like autism a spectrum. Like, it's I don't know if I like that, because I feel like it there has to be a cutoff point that has to be,
Mhm.
like, at some point you're like, I mean, we all have autistic traits.
Yeah,
Like, everyone has autistic traits.
they are human traits.
Yeah,
They
they're
just
just
are.
just
Yeah,
yeah, just human
except in
traits.
autism, they are a little bit bigger almost, and you have more of those traits in one person,
Yeah,
which then makes
exactly.
it autism.
And we just put a threshold on it,
Yeah,
a more or less arbitrary threshold, and then
yeah.
we say, "Pop, okay, this is autism."
Now it's autism. Yeah,
And so that goes against this whole idea of the spectrum. I feel like, yeah, the whole world, everything is a spectrum. Like, nothing's in nature, nothing is a category. We invent the category, but
yeah.
it doesn't make sense to call the category a spectrum. I feel like you either, after a certain
Are
point,
or
yeah,
not.
you are or you
Yeah,
aren't. Like, we are all in the spectrum of everything, right?
yeah,
So
true.
yeah.
But they used to be different diagnoses. They only somewhat I'm not entirely sure when exactly they did that, but
Mm-hmm.
autism spectrum disorder used to be different diagnoses, and they put them together in autism spectrum disorder.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I guess in that sense, it kind of makes sense to make it a spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
because there's
yeah,
multiple axes on which it basically, you could be
yeah,
uh autistic if you have a bunch of characteristics that go in the one direction and a
yeah,
bunch of that go in the other direction. But still, the circle is basically, it's there is a
yeah.
circle drawn around the graph, basically.